Hello and welcome back to the channel. I wanted to take some time to talk about spoilers from The Hunted, specifically this Arachne marionette, as I think the design philosophy for the set probably runs through this hero. So it's a 4 intellect, 40 health chaos assassin, and your attacks with stealth that are attacking a marked hero get +1, and when this hits, gets go again. So the attack will get go again, that stealth card. And at the beginning of your end phase, if an opponent is marked, you become a random agent of chaos. So I'll just highlight one of the agents of chaos right now, Black Widow, which has once per turn attack reaction, discard an assassin card, target assassin attack is +3. So that could be a dagger or any other assassin typed attack action. If it has stealth, it gets, when this hits a hero, they banish a card from their hand. So we get a little bit of that deck damage, if you will, carrying over from new, latest assassin who did plenty of banishing. And then again, at the beginning of your end phase, return to the Brood, which is revert to your base hero. So sort of how I see the agents of chaos interacting with Arachne Marionette, the starting hero, is you basically kind of switch between marking the opponent and becoming an agent of chaos, and then finally hitting your mark and returning back to Arachne Marionette. The reason I think it'll go that way is if we kind of look at the templating on Black Widow, and then I'll toggle over to one of the other demi-heroes as well. Discarding an assassin card to give +3 is quite a powerful attack reaction. You can turn excess stealth cards, say, into a +3 attack react, so the consistency is very high on this hero power, or this demi-hero power. And I'll switch over to Tarantula, which was spoiled by fabtcg on YouTube. It also has this once per turn attack reaction. This one's a little bit more situational. You have to target a dagger attack to get +3. But it does have some extra upside, like whenever a dagger you own hits a hero, they lose 1 life. So basically, I think we are like going between our demi hero and the chaos assassin base hero pretty frequently during the game. And I think what it means is red stealth cards are going to be on the menu this set. We've already seen a couple spoiled. They're definitely limited cards because they name Fang and Syndra on them. Don't think you'll be playing these much in Constructed. But I think in contrast to Part the Mistveil, we're going to be seeing a focus on red stealth more than blue stealth. And I think the hero power itself, which gives +1 to attacking stealth cards, also supports this theory. Red stealth coming in for 4 after the +1 unmarked heroes. Seems like that's sort of the direction. So if that is the case and this theory checks out, I have been thinking about Uzuri in the meantime and what that potentially means for her. So Part the Mistveil gave us Just a Nick, a really, really powerful attack reaction. But it has to target a card with 1 or less base power, at least to get this first line of text, which you tend to want to do. So it kind of powers up your blues into reds, essentially. But if the Hunted cares more about reds than blues, then maybe there will be a Just a Nick power level card in the reaction slot that Assassin will get to take advantage of. And I think that would be a clever way to design an attack reaction because it wouldn't push new into the stratosphere. So I've been thinking about what happens if you take Uzuri and you cut Just a Nick and you go down to, relatively few blues. And it's kind of like one of the first Uzuri decks I ever iterated upon, which was the full red line deck that had maybe like 7 or 8 blues max. This one I kind of had extra blue stealth cards to try to support looking for a scrap, because this card in itself is so good at progressing the game plan. So I just basically took that same deck I had and upgraded one of the stealth cards to persuasive, because this one is still very good if the only thing it does is hit for 1. You know, you still get to, against certain decks, almost guaranteed take a card from them. And you kind of maintain that fork. If the opponent blocks, then you extract value out of the stealth card. If they don't block, the stealth card gets its own on hit. Like, for instance, Red Infect gets its Blood Rot Pox. And in those cases, the opponent doesn't block, you can arsenal the swap target. So I'm hoping Hunted has more cards like Red Infect, if you will, and perhaps even some red stealth cards that interact with the hand, kind of like Persuasive does. And we might be able to see a resurgence of a red line deck. But for now, I want to get into a game and see if the results I've had can carry over here to YouTube. I want to see what we can do here. Okay, I have a KO. I'm gonna choose to go second, and this is a fun matchup because it's gonna be fast and furious. I still get to play D-Reacts because KO has so many attacks that go tall. I'm gonna put in Weakest Link because it's good interaction with the non-blocks. Gonna add Sigil because it's a nice bluff card, helps you with the Scowling Fleshbag. And I have 3 more cards I can add. I'm gonna do 2 Scrap because I have the stealth to support them and they are a good value card. And finally, I'm gonna have 1 Shred, yellow. And I'll just run it like this. The equipment, I'm going Black Tech over Snapdragons for the extra block and potentially rebuy. So let's see what we can get. Starting with Sigil is very nice. And a pretty sweet hand if the opponent just passes. Get to shred a CNC. This matchup has always been kinda tricky from the Uzuri side, I would say. You're not really an underdog and you're not really favored. It's kind of back and forth. I think the Weakest Link was a huge bonus to the matchup coming out in Part the Mistvale, as you do get to interact much more with the KO's hand. I'm pretty surprised to see them fire off the Blood Rush. Like, me casting the Sigil does not like decrease my block value on the turn because I've already gained the life. So this is a little curious to me. Maybe their hand was... Oh, I can... Okay, yeah, they actually pitched a Blood Rush to play the Blood Rush. So maybe what they're thinking here is I can try to link some damage and preserve a Blood Rush for the late game. Whereas if the only thing they do is pass, Assassin has such potent arsenal disruption that maybe their Blood Rush just gets taken immediately from them and they're forced to do a small Blood Rush hand anyway. So that could be it. Or maybe they're just kind of wanting to potentially punish the Sigil play. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, they got sort of an ideal outcome, I think, from this, which was the pulping with Dominate. So they still leak 4 and get an arsenal. And the reason they leaked is because I thought I would try to get extra value on the CNC block instead of putting the 2 block on the Mandible Claw. So I definitely caught the full punish with the pulping at the end. Here's an interesting choice whether I attack the Rabble or not. Trying to play around Fleshbag. But in my experience, this is gonna get value almost certainly at some point in the game. So, and like if you play around it every turn, it accrues value by you making suboptimal plays. So I think you really just want to give your opponent, not the best flesh bag in the world each turn, and if they decide to commit it, then the outcome is what it is. Really, the only way you can truly dodge this is with either a card you were going to put in Arsenal anyway, like a defense reaction, or you can truly dodge it with a sigil, which could also end up in your arsenal. But like, let's say you play your red infect and you're holding a card and you have an arsenal already, the sigil, being your last card in hand, will juke a flesh bag. They're playing Erase Face, which is interesting. Maybe this card is actually quite good against the Chaos Assassin because the hero power will say Assassin on it. Uzuri does not say Assassin on it. It says Stealth cards. So Erase Face maybe will pick up in effectiveness soon. Sandbagging for 8 is quite big, unfortunately hitting my sink below. Now, if I do defend this out, my turn is do nothing, which I don't love. My turn isn't great if I don't block either. So this send packing just ruins everything, is what I'm trying to say. I don't think I want to use Crown of Providence yet, which could potentially help me have a better turn. So unfortunately, I think what I'm going to do is just block this out and pass again and put the Death Touch in Arsenal. It's not the type of play I want to make, but I think if you do the value calculation on the turn, I think it ends up about the same doing this. And if the value calculation is about the same, I'd rather have the Death Touch in Arsenal than something else. Okay, yep, they are playing some CNCs. I think for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and play my Sink Below on this Wild Ride to potentially dodge a follow-up CNC. Just kind of keeping track of my graveyard count for blue stealth cards. I have already 2 in there, so my scraps are live. So I'm going to go ahead and sink a blue infect and see if I can find something better. I think Fate Foreseen is reasonably better, assuming they don't hit me with the CNC here. That would be pretty annoying. I do have outs, though, to a CNC with the Crown of Providence. They didn't discard a 6 power, so that's really nice for me. I can turn off the go again, which is probably not relevant, but most importantly, I can use my whole hand. And I'll keep a Sink Below on top to try to have similar turns like this next turn. And I'm just going to make one of the classic red line Uzuri plays that maybe recent versions I've been playing don't get to do, which is Tunic for Death Touch. Nice little 1-card 6 that happens up to 2 or 3 times a game, thanks to Codex. We also have Nimbalism that can make it 9 power, which is very hard to block, especially following a Spider's Bite. Something to note is I don't have a Scale Peeler in the list. Basically, I'm trying out, if I only bring 2 daggers, these should be the ones, and does the matchup spread really matter if I don't have the Scale Peeler? This is really just, the list itself is an experiment for, could this type of strategy be something worth playing with the Hunted? Okay, They got a Bare Fangs for 9. Okay, I'm happy to see another Send Packing gone. What I want to do here is sink my Codex because it's a great card late game. And I think my plan is going to have to be blocked with the Death Touch, unfortunately. And then what I want to do is find a blue, ideally. And failing that, find a card that goes well with this rabble. Okay, the third Codex is not that. That's pretty annoying. So I need to decide how I'm going to play this turn. I really don't have a good Codex target. So I think I'm just kind of losing out on a good amount of value here. Probably if I had to do it, I would get another Ravenous Rabble just because it attacks for 4. Opponent's blocking already. I think that is going to be the plan. Codex into Rabble for 4. This is where a Leave No Witnesses would be great. I would get some armor from my opponent, and a blue would obviously be awesome. Would have been awesome to sink into, to swing another Death Touch. So I need to keep in mind that I've got the 2 Codexes right next to each other at the bottom of the deck. That's definitely not ideal. I'm not sure yet how I'm going to play around that. E-Strike with Go again. I'm going to do my usual thing here of sink below before a Command and Conquer comes in. I think it's likely the Arsenal gets played. So I'm going to sink the CNC and try to find ideally a stealth card to go with Shakedown. Okay, another Leave No. My opponent's doing a pretty good job at having good value plays, which is how you want to play against Uzuri as KO. My Frailty did pretty well there. Got me an extra 1 value on the Swing Big, or it would have potentially been on the Claw as well. I think my opponent probably would have done okay to block and send E-Strike for 7. I have a line here where I go E-Strike, draw a card, and see if I can find a use of this Quicken token. Block 7 with my boots. There's not too many 1-card hands that do that for me, but I think the upside is big enough that I may as well. The on hits of the KO deck are running a little bit lower. I've seen a couple Send Packings and a CNC already, so I think I'm going to try this out. See if I can find my way into a way to use the action point. Not so, but it's all right because I still get a 1-card 5 from the E-Strike. I get to Arsenal and Isolate. So a nice type of draw would be looking for a scrap and a swap target next turn. We'll see what I can find. My opponent blocks with their CNC, so cool. Found the scrap and no swap target, unfortunate. This is one of the difficult parts of the matchup, is you are trying to piece together kind of specific hands sometimes. They went for a Savage Sash. Okay, they had a bunch of non-blocks, so I think this play makes a little bit of sense now seeing their hand. And I think I'm like sending most of my stuff. I think I want to send this Infect. I'm not totally sure if I want to send the Infect or protect my life total. It might be better to have more life, so let's just see what the follow-up is. It's a Bare Fangs, prior to which they discarded E-Strike. Wow, so if they discard the the Bear Fangs instead of the E-Strike. They have no follow-up at all. All right. I am going to block with the Infect. I think I'd rather protect my life total than give them a choice on blocking it. And I'll lead with the Rabble. I don't think it matters too much which one I lead, but the Looking for a Scrap is a high enough above rate card that if they did fleshbag the Rabble, having the scrap for the next turn, like let's say they're in a blocking mood, okay, and they and they block the Rabble with fleshbag, then because they're in a blocking mood, their hand comes back at me for less, and then I get to hold the higher, higher value card for attacking their life total. Speaking of life totals, we're definitely behind because of that that send packing. It was just really brutal to basically skip my whole turn. Like if I had a hand that really did crack back for enough, I would have let them have the sink below, and they still get amazing value, by the way, on that. And they're continuing the train. The race face is not that good into me. I'm just going to block 3. And if they send another 6 or what have you, I will put 2 more 3 blocks. Really want to try to land the shakedown this turn. Double a race face. My opponent did have an agile windup they could have done this turn, but it's okay. I think this is pretty much where you want your fleshbag to happen. Is like I get to actually arsenal the card if they commit the hat. So we'll see what they do, and if I do hit, I'm probably calling red. They're on probably the normal number of blues, maybe a little bit less because we saw yellow wild ride. All right, and they say no blocks. I think there's a pretty strong argument to call blue because if they don't have resources, their sash is gone, so I could get the whole turn. And I'm actually going to think about that for just a second, because if I call blue and their turn is ruined, I really do catch back up on tempo. And they're holding the whole hand, and they didn't flesh bag to try to protect it. So it's either like, if they really wanted to protect the hand, I think they flesh bag. So it's kind of tricky what to call. The safe line I want to say is calling red, and then the high variance, high reward is calling blue. I think I'm going to go for the safe line. I think I have enough ways to play the end of this game that I don't need to go for high variance. Turns out they had 3 blues, and I took their only red. Hindsight works out in my favor. So they have a couple of windups and this run roughshod. So they can do this into the run roughshod with a windup. And my best play is Nimblism, E-Strike, draw. But there's a chance they just pass and don't send the roughshod. Excuse me. That would be strange if they did that, but just in case, I'll block 3. Yep, and then they attack for 5. Makes sense. I'm going to attack for 8, draw a card. Obviously, if they had arsenaled their thing, I would have sent the leave no for 7. So here's where it would have been nice to not clump those 2 codexes right at the start. You know, if I can draw a codex on this turn or so and really get them with a good disruptive turn, I'd be feeling much more comfortable. But drawing a defensive hand I think is pretty good in this spot. So they got Bear Fangs. which I'm going to defend for 7, I want to say. This plus a Fade Foreseen. And actually, I think I probably should have kept the Isolate. Okay, it didn't end up mattering. But if I found a disruptive card on top, there's always Crown of Providence on his follow-up to try to, or to sink into it, you know, bottom my arsenal and draw the disruption to go with Isolate. Okay, this is annoying. They are going 3 wide or representing that. Wild Ride, yep. Oh, discard Blood Rush. That's pretty good for me. Okay. Here's my plan. I think because they had such a good turn cycle, I need to go a little higher variance on this. I'm going to attack with the Scrap and play the Prognosis and hope to get their Flesh Bag. I think this play would have been better if I had kept the Isolate. Would have really made them want to use the Flesh Bag. But I made that choice too quickly. So be it. And if I can get the Flesh Bag out of the way here, then I can try to put the squeeze on with the Assassin endgame. They also have a very good endgame, to be fair, but I have 3 healing in the wings. Okay, yeah. So I'm pretty happy to get the Flesh Bag, and it's even before I've played the Prognosis. So I'm just going to go ahead and Sigil, and then Arsenal this guy. So pretty happy with this outcome. They didn't even get an Apex value there. They are still at 10 life, which is obviously pretty healthy. So I need like 1 or 2 more turns of getting them. We'll see what happens. Okay, pulping for 7 is a lot. We're just going to block with the E-Strike for now. I'm going to see what their follow-up is. If it's another claw into attack, I think we are done for. It is just an attack. And it's an attack that lets me send my Death Touch, which I'm very happy about. Now the question is, do I play around a second Reckless Swing? They've already played 1. Or they've discarded 1, I should say. I think I'm not going to. I think I win more games by not playing around it. So we'll just do this. Gain the 3. All right. And then I go Prognosis. I think there's a pretty good argument if they don't block to not swap. But we'll see if it comes to that. They are going to block. So swap is definitely where I want to be. Oops, sorry, opponent. I want to flick my Nerve Scalpel as well. You decline the undo, whatever. That's fine. Okay, Wild Ride. Here's where some of the Brute variance comes in. Okay, discarded a blue. See where we go from here, but I'm hoping I'm not blocking for the rest of the game. What do we got? I was in full screen. Okay, a Mandible Claw. So let me check my threats. I have a Weakest Link. I have 2 Weakest Links left. Okay. So I think, given that I have Weakest Link remaining, I'd rather Arsenal the Isolate. And here I basically need it not to be my opponent's Blood Rush they pitched on turn 1, and then I think I have a chance. Okay, they are doing the thing still with Wild Ride. I'm going to use the Crown, sink the Arsenal, because I'm thinking I need another defensive card here. We'll bottom the 2 block. And if the next attack is only for 6, I think I'm doing all right. Okay, it's a claw, so I'm doing better than all right if they have no follow-up. No, they had a follow-up. That's unlucky. At least I can send a one-card play here, which will demand a block, and I get my flick knives in anyway. This is probably their blood rush hand, so I wouldn't be surprised if I get a block, but I think a 3-card blood rush is still enough to kill me. And that life total difference that they accrued on the first turn cycle may be exactly what determines this match. Had I blocked an extra 2 on their claw, I'd be at 3 here. So that's good learning if that's how this turns out. Yep, here comes. So I need them to like... Oh, because I'm at 1, yeah. I think I'm just dead no matter what. But we'll see. Block 6 into... They need to have double red in hand, basically. Nope. And in fact, it just kills me. So, GG. This is definitely a tricky matchup. I think the life total ended up not mattering, if you will. Because of the... Like, if I have 2 more, I still die by -2. So I think this game kind of... It started off a little poorly with the send packing, and it just continued to be like that. I think the only disruption I landed was 1 shakedown, and it wasn't even that good because my opponent had a run roughshod to kind of convert their whole hand pretty efficiently. Run roughshod and a wind up. So I think in terms of card choices for this game, I think the scale peeler wouldn't have mattered because I didn't swing with daggers at all. Had I drawn a blue to go with my first codex, then maybe I would have swung scale peeler. I'm not sure. I also think the nimbleisms were pretty medium, which is kind of the case for nimbleism in general. This card was at its height when Lexi was in the meta and you could leave no witnesses for 7 a few times a game. But overall, I think this matchup went about as expected. And I'm not totally sure what new cards they could print to change these outcomes, but you know, I will be playing more of this deck anyway in the meantime because it does bring back a lot of memories and it's tons of fun. And even when you're trying to race like this, I think you do have quite a lot of game. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.